we'll get that in this opening sequence here shortly.
Alright, looks like they've started off. I don't see any information from Eri. But Muttski is a runner who has been around for some time now. He's been in the speedrunning community for 5 years. 2 of those years he's been speedrunning Link to the Past, and he also knows No EG, which is a glitch category of this game, but he's not going to be able to use any of those glitches in this category of no major glitches. But he also runs Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy IX. He even had the Harry Potter 2 PlayStation 2 world record for a few weeks this one time. Cool story there, Muttski. And his particular fun fact, his claim to fame, is that everything about him is fun, which I'm not able to confirm or deny. So, yeah, that's all what Muttski wanted you to know about him. Let's see, we got Rezephos, also known as Rezi. Been speedrunning for 4 years, but only a Link to the Past speedrunner for about a month now, who completed Master Sword, or ran Master Sword a little bit a couple of years ago, but is new to NMG. Other games run by Rezi are Super Mario World, small only stuff, world record in categories that no one else runs, and no fun fact, unfortunately, for Rezi. And then our final runner is Takaze. Let's see if Takaze took the time to fill this out. Yep. It's been speedrunning for about 2 years. Started learning this game in 2016, but put it off for a little bit and entered the tournament to motivate himself to learn it again. They don't run any other categories. And let's see, Takaze also runs Final Fantasy VI, Child of Light, and I Am Setsuna. And fun fact is that Takaze thinks space is cool. So, looks like we're about a quarter of the way through the first segment of the game now. Pretty boring segment, not much to talk about. The boomerang room here is one of the rooms that causes a little bit of time loss, but for the most part it's really straightforward. It's all about movement. And another big room coming up is the ball and chain guard, which all of our runners will be battling in just a second. But yeah, for the most part it's just all movement based, nothing flashy. We don't have any items or anything to do anything with, except for the boomerang, which isn't terribly useful. And yeah, otherwise it's just trying to get through those few rooms as quickly as possible. There are no major points of contention or anything here at this point.
We gotta watch out. In our bottom race, both of our runners are down to half a heart. They can pick up a couple of hearts here on the way out if they want to for safety.
Looks like Rezi's decided not to pick up any of those backup parts, and Eri is going to go for one of those backup parts.
The escape sequence that we're going through, especially in the sewer area, it's very RNG heavy. You could have a rat or a snake or something just appear in that wrong spot, and all of a sudden you're dead.
Yeah, so going into the second part with only a half a heart is pretty risky, because you can just take a hit here or there just based on the RNG you get for the snakes or the rats. There is another backup heart, a couple spots for backup hearts that Rezi could decide to pick up, so we'll see if they want to refill anywhere.
Yep, one of those spots is right here, and yeah, he's going to grab a backup heart. That one probably was about a second faster, so that might have just been a choice for time. And yeah, as we see the runners come upstairs, they are now entering the sewer area. This is a pretty RNG heavy area just because of how the enemies could spawn.
All right, Mutt gets very, very good RNG there from the snakes. They just clear a path for him, and he goes straight on through. Unfortunately, Takaze has to battle a little bit to get through them. They created a wall for him, so he's going to lose a little bit of time there, just due to RNG.
Yeah, it looks like Rezi and Mutt both got good RNG. Takaze and Eri both a little bit worse.
Muttski coming up on the key rat room. If this guy decides to go to the top right corner of the room, or top left, excuse me, it is a big time loss for this segment. Probably the biggest time loss that you can incur just on RNG. But he does not get the top left. Ooh, but Takaze does, which is unfortunate. Takaze just not getting good RNG now, costing him a little bit of time against Muttski here. Eriphram and Rezi both got... Rezi got decent RNG there for the key rat too. So Takaze the only one getting the top left, which is unfortunate, but it does happen sometimes. And Muttski has finished the escape under 6 minutes. And our next runner coming through in about 6:06 is Takaze.
So it's gonna be. We'll have to see if all these runners elect to pick up the Sanctuary Heart here. It looks like everybody is going to go for the Sanctuary Heart, which isn't surprising. Eastern Palace can be a little bit daunting, and there is a room you have to take a damage boost in for optimal strategy. Now, as we get into the later rounds of the tournament, we might see runners start to pass that up a little bit more.
Yep, the Sanctuary Heart is something still a lot of top runners get. You don't see many people dropping it until even the 125 range. Some runners even have a 124 with a Sanctuary Heart get in it. So it's the most common safety by far. And we'll just see all these runners making their way over to Eastern Palace.
Just syncing up streams a little bit here. So our runners are getting into Eastern Palace now. The first room they're going to come up to is the Stalfos room, where they'll take a certain pattern to get a couple of the Stalfos to spawn outside of the room or in an area they can't spawn.
Muttski making quick work of that room there. You didn't even see the skeleton spawn, which is what happens when that room goes well. We'll see Takaze coming up on it as well. Rezephos in the room now. And, yep, similar execution there by those runners.
So up here, we're going to see most of these runners are probably pick up this arrow pot. Muttski did. The 5 arrow pots you want to grab, just so you have those arrows coming up for the Armos fight. The next thing we'll see is a damage boost on Muttski's screen. Basically, he's just going to take some damage so he can trigger the switch to get the big key chest, and then grab the big key chest without killing the enemies. If done right, he'll lose a heart and a half.
Very, very well executed there. Even got a good boost getting thrown towards the staircase as he got hit by the anti-fairies, which is ideal. We see Rezi going in now. Takaze. Rezi having to take an extra hit, but doesn't lose too much time. Takaze executing well. Unfortunate that he got hit down. Loses about a second there just from getting hit down instead of up like Muttski did.
Next up, we're going to have the first of our Agor rooms. Eriphram takes a little extra damage, but he gets through it. He's going to grab a heart for safety.
Ooh, Muttski deciding not to kill any of those popos. A lot of people do to farm rupees there because the popos have a high chance to drop rupees. But he decides to just go up and shoot that green Igor without trying to farm any rupees there. We'll see the drops he gets later on when he has to kill popos.
Looks like our first 3 runners are through that room pretty cleanly. Yep, everybody gets through the Igor room clean. Muttski's going to be the first into the Armos fight. So Armos fight's pretty simple. Fire 5 arrows to the right, then fire arrows down as you're stepping down. If you time it all right, you don't have to deal with the Red Knight going berserk, and you get your pendant. And Muttski pretty much executed that perfect.
Muttski off to a really, really good start right now. He's going to finish his segment at Sword Up before 11 minutes, which is a very, very good time. Both Takaze and Eriphram having trouble in the Red Igor room just before Armos, and rezephos finishing up Armos now.
Eri misses the quick kill. Takaze is having a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, missing the quick kill causes you to use a few extra arrows to have to take down the last Armos again because he refills his health once all the other Armos are down for a significant amount of time. But we see the first spin speed coming out here from Muttski. He just got the boots, so he's able to do this little trick here and there throughout the run to make sure he's able to move freely at dash speed.
And we'll likely see some divergence from the runners here. Like, Muttski elected to skip the rupees in Sarsla's hut. Rezi's going to pick them up, though. There's 2 points, basically, you can get your rupees for Chilneva Palace of Darkness. One's here in Sarsla's hut. The other will be on some tree poles that we'll see later.
Yeah, the tree pole. Ooh, unfortunately, you can't get spin speed when you're not facing up or down on that ladder, so rezephos has to do a retry there. But yeah, the tree pull is, if done optimally, roughly 6-7 seconds faster, 6 to 7 seconds faster than getting the rupees behind Sahasrarla's hut. But there is a little bit of risk involved later on, which we'll get to.
Yep, all of our runners are now doing Overworld. They have to go to the library to grab their book before they can go in the Desert Palace. And Muttski's making some very good work through this Overworld, very clean movements. And Eriphram and Rezi both have their books. Their race is going to be pretty close, it looks like. Takaze is working his way up towards the library now, too.
Muttski is going to be opening Desert Palace Dungeon. Very, very solid time so far from him still. Not much to say about Desert Palace, just a lot of dashing, collecting things, no real crazy tricks or anything like that. So not much to really talk about in the way of, you know, the execution or anything like that.
There's a lot of straight hallways, so a lot of dashing. There is probably one arrow pot he'll pick up. That's about it.
Yeah, Muttski might opt to pick up an extra pot with rupees under it, but that's the only real deviation you'll see from him. Otherwise, just picking up the usual arrow strats, or the arrow route strats that most people employ.
So what we need the arrows for coming up is for this upcoming Landmola fight, which is one of the RNG heavy bosses in this game. This could easily mess up a run, And hopefully the runners will get good RNG to stay on pace. Muttski's going to be the first to pick up his Titans mitts. Everybody's in the desert at this point. Muttski actually picked up an extra pot to get up to full 30 arrows.
Really good reactions there from Eriphram going through that cannonball room. Got not the best RNG, but reacted very, very well to get through quickly still. Oh, these these popos bobbing and weaving Takaze here just before he gets to this cannonball room. Has to chase him around a little bit. Muttski, meanwhile, on his way into another popo room. Maybe he'll be able to get some rupee drops here. Skips by that blue rupee, not really a big deal for him. Keep in mind that dashing through enemies causes him not to drop anything ever, so anytime he dashes through someone, he doesn't have to worry about getting a rupee drop or waiting for rupees if it's a red rupee.
That's important for one trick that the runners like to pull off with getting a fairy drop in Turtle Rock. We'll probably talk about it a little more once we get to Aghanim's Tower.
Alright, Muttski is entering what I consider the toughest fight in the game to optimize. A 2-cycle is amazing. 3-cycle, 4-cycle are good. Anything higher than a 5-cycle is either really bad luck or bad execution. And it looks like Muttski is going to get a 2-cycle here. That is absolutely insane. 2-cycle Landmola's fight.
That's about as well as you can do it.
Even amongst the top runners, you don't see that very often, so I'm really glad he showed that off and we got to see that. That was very, very well executed.
Yeah, that was just beautiful to watch.
Rezi having a little bit of a problem with these torches because of that red Igor, but he gets the torches lit roughly the same time Eriphram does as well. They'll be entering the fight at about the same time.
Meanwhile, Muttski is working his way over to the fake flipper spot.
Yep, fake flipper is pretty risky. If you get hit, you have a chance to soft lock. There's a special rule in place so that this doesn't invalidate your run for the tournament only. But if you were to soft lock here, it would invalidate your run. You'd have to start over completely. But he gets through without a problem. So the way that works is the game will check if you have flippers 1 frame after you enter the water. So you have a pixel of movement, and if you use that pixel of movement to enter a screen transition, then the game won't check again. So it just assumes you have flippers.
Well, it looks like Eriphram and rezephos are having a little bit more trouble on this fight.
Yeah, Rezi cleans it up right now. Takaze is also in it now, holding the sword out to try to line himself up and maybe get some pokes off here and there. But Rezi and Eriphram both holding the pendant at the same time, so still a pretty close race. And Muttski is making his way up Death Mountain now. He's going to drop the old man off at his little hut here to get the mirror. And then he will be just making his way up to Hera. Getting trolled there by the RNG. Nothing you can do about that. The rock was on him when he got movement back, so couldn't have dodged it in any way. But fortunately, has a pretty... Oh, I just jinxed him. He had a pretty good run up Death Mountain there, except for that last rock, which is, again, unfortunate. You rarely see that there.
Yeah, you want to move as fast as you can through that field. Speed is, as much as speed might seem a little daunting, speed is the best option for getting through that.
Ooh, Eriphram missing the setup for fake flippers, so he's going to actually fake to the left and then re-screen transition to the right. And oh no! Oh, don't get hit! Oh, he gets hit! Don't hit any buttons. There we go. Okay, good.
Yeah.
The only button you can hit there is select, and you can use that to save and quit. This is according to tournament rules set up for the brackets. It's slightly different.
So, yeah.
For the group, but it's slightly different for the brackets. But yeah, he's now able to just save and quit out and then continue the race as usual.
Yeah. In the bracket stage, he would have to go back to the fake flipper spot first. But for the group stage, he can just proceed on his way to Death Mountain.
Yeah, either way, it loses you time. So we decided to make the penalty a little less impactful for the group stages. But the brackets, the competition's going to ramp up, so we don't want people relying on the fact that they won't lose too much time at fake flippers if they go for it.
And if the runners aren't nervous about the fake flippers, they do have the option of just taking the normal route. The difference is about 6 seconds. So you can just dash up to Death Mountain with about an extra 6 seconds. It doesn't really cost you that much time, and some runners may elect to do that.
rezephos doing a little dance around the warp tile there, having a little fun with it, but he does get the quick warp. If you enter a warp on 2 specific pixels, you have 8 pixels, x-coordinate pixels that you can enter the warp on, and if you enter it in one of 2 specific pixel places, then you will cut the animation time for transitioning from one world to the next in half. So it's about ½ a second, which is pretty significant if you get a bunch of them throughout the run.
Oh, Muttski is making quick progress to the Tower of Hera. We're going to see a bomb jump here coming up.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of health, so he's going to take a little backup part here, but setting up the bomb jump. He's going to use a dash. The dash actually allows you to get boosted farther by the bomb, so you don't have to be as close to the gap if you are in that bonk animation as the bomb explodes.
Next up is another RNG heavy boss, and that's Moldorm. And Muttski's going to take a couple more safety hearts, because Moldorm can really hurt a run.
Yeah, you don't want to die to Moldorm. Falling to Moldorm, while frustrating, is not as bad as dying to Moldorm, because you have to do pretty much the entire dungeon again.
Oh,
and he
no.
gets a middle hold, and he gets hit a second time before he actually finishes transitioning to the floor below. So he takes 2... Oh, he's down to 2 hearts now. 2 hearts, 2 floors down. That just hurts. Yeah, so unfortunate there for him. And Eriphram takes a death in the lobby of the Tower of Hera. So this shouldn't lose him too much time, as he's in the same room starting out in Hera as he was when he died.
Yeah, this is some of Eriphram's areas little problems. They're allowing Rezi to get a bit of a lead, but there's still plenty of run to go.
Yeah, Rezi having a little trouble with the Beetle's room there. Not a very, easy room to execute well. The Beetle's RNG is very strange. The difference in their movement RNG is very subtle, so it can be hard to react sometimes. And Muttski does finish up Moldorm the second time through, has a pretty clean fight there, and still on a pretty decent pace despite that middle hole fall.
Rezi's doing his bomb jump. Eriphram working through the tower room. Takaze is climbing the tower.
Okay, Muttski does not have a lot of rupees, and this is the segment in which he's going to use the tree rupees to collect the rupees he needs for the Dark World. He needs 110 total before getting into the Dark World, or at least before getting to Kiki, to pay him off to follow him and then help him get into the dungeon. Wow, Takaze getting absolutely trolled by that Moldorm as he's setting up the bomb jump. Unfortunately, he got extra bombs at Tahasralah's hut, so he can just slash the Moldorm out of the way and set it up. Now, you saw that Muttski pulled that tree there for a bunch of blue rupees. He collected, I'm going to assume, all of those. No, it looks like only 3 of those. And now he has to kill 4 enemies without taking damage, and he will pull another tree in the Lost Woods here, and that will yield, as long as he doesn't take damage, that will yield 4 red rupees, and then that'll easily get him up to where he needs to be.
Yeah.
For
he'll technically need 1 more rupee, but there's a couple pots that yield 6 rupees in Aga Tower that he can grab easily.
Yeah, those rupees are on the way. You know, you pick up those pots automatically to get through the room fast, and you're on top of them anyway, so it doesn't actually lose him any time.
Rezi made it through his Moldorm fight. Takaze just finished his. Eriphram's entering his Moldorm fight now. Ooh, and Eri takes a fall. Eri's on his second fall. We just saw Muttski pull the tree. He got his 80 rupees, so he's successfully got that tree pulled off.
Alright, and Eriphram has finished up Moldorm. Grabbing the pendant. Rezephos at the Master Sword. And it looks like all of our runners are in the same segment now once again. Now, Takaze and Eriphram both took damage in this segment, but they are not getting true rupees. They already have the rupees they need, so it's not as big of a deal. Oh wait, actually Eriphram does need rupees still, but he took damage before pulling the tree, so it's not gonna affect him too much as long as he doesn't take damage between the tree pulls.
Yeah, he should be fine for now. Meanwhile, let's see if any of our runners... Okay, Rezi elects to pick up the mushroom. This is one of the most common safeties that we'll see runners pick up. Mushroom adds a little time to your run, but both items are essentially on the way. So it's on the way to pick up the mushroom, and it's also on your way to... Well, a little out of your way, but mostly on your way to grab the powder.
Yeah, there are a couple different places that runners will go out of their way to pick up the powder. Some are a little quicker than others. But depending on where you want to have the powder for, there's some dungeons that are a little more daunting and risky than others, so sometimes people will get a little bit earlier to make sure they have it just in case. Muttski is still on a pretty good pace here, despite that fall. And this is where he'll pick up the last rupee he needs, right in this spot here. Yep, and he's going to have to slash that guard out of the way for getting in the way. Unfortunate RNG there, and he picks up that pot to get some extra arrows. And he'll be making his way up to Aghanim now. Just all RNG boss fight before you enter the Dark World. How much time you lose is just all dependent upon RNG.
Yeah. So, I know people love to guess blue balls here. Blue balls, ideally, you don't want to see more than 2. Like, I think at 2, then 5, and then 8, you're going to see extra lightning bolts. I should say, if you get above that number of blue balls, you'll see extra lightning bolts. So Takaze gets a fairy here. What a lot of runners will do is they'll charge to kill those enemies, so they'll hold that fairy drop until later. As we mentioned before, charge kills don't advance the prize pack. Looks like Muttski's fight's going pretty well.
I've seen a couple blue balls so far. I haven't really been paying too close attention to his count.
I think he might have only gotten 2.
It was only 2, yeah. He skipped that extra lightning cycle, fortunately, and only got 2.
So Muttski is the first into the Dark World, and Rezi will be the second into the Aga fight. Takaze having a little bit of trouble in this room, but gets through it.
Takaze boomeranging, excuse me, that guard on a diagonal there, which you don't see too often, knocking him off there. Okay, Muttski is through the text. He's made his way down the pyramid. He's going over to the Palace of Darkness right now.
So up here we'll see Muttski grab Kiki. Needs 110 rupees to open Palace of Darkness. If he takes a hit, he'll need another 10 rupees to get Kiki to follow him again. So he's got to be a little careful here.
Yeah, there's only one real point of RNG that could be risky here. We'll see what happens, and he doesn't get the bad RNG. If that Javelin guard decided to walk up, that's the worst RNG you can get there, but he's safely out of the way and gets over to the dungeon. Pays Rupee an extra 100 rupees to open the dungeon for him. Excuse me, pays Kiki. Did I say pays Rupee? Whatever. And now he's into the dungeon.
I think looking at Rizzy and Takaze's Aga fights, I don't think either of them have gotten too bad of RNG in these fights.
Yep, and we have Eriphram entering momentarily as well.
So, a Palace of Darkness is good for a few things. First of all, you're going to see these runners warp a lot, which is just for optimal routing. But it also allows them to pick up some extra bombs that they're going to need for the rest of the run. And they're also going to need bombs for one of the upcoming bomb jumps, the hammer jump.
Yeah, they'll need 2 bombs for this hammer jump. One they'll use to actually do the hammer jump, and then the other one they'll need to break open the wall after collecting the hammer out of the big chest. Ooh, Rezi taking some damage there on the pyramid screen. The enemy's getting his way during spin speed. So he's already down 3 hearts going into this segment, which can be a little problematic later on.
And a lot of enemies in the Dark World hurts. Most enemies will do 2 hearts of damage if you take a hit. Looks like Rizzy says he only got 1 blue ball in his fight.
Right, Muttski's at the bomb jump right now. He's got to place the bomb on a specific y-axis pixel. He's pause buffering to slow down the bridge and check his position and try to move in very small increments. And there he goes, he gets it. Throws the other bomb over to open the wall while he gets the hammer from the chest and is on his way. So a few extra buffers there, but a pretty well executed bomb jump.
And he will be on his way to the Helmasar fight now.
Yep, just got to get through the Mimic's room and pod, which is a very, very cool, fun room, and the turtle room later on, and then he'll be over at Helmasar. Meanwhile, we got Rezi in the dungeon, collecting keys before getting over to the bomb jump. We got Takaze picking up Kiki. He gets the bad RNG there, but fortunately deals with it properly and does not take extra damage. Doesn't do a Kiki dash there though, and he menus, so a little bit of time lost there. Right.
By dashing into the door like that, Kiki takes a little extra time to get up on the roof to open the door, so it's a bit of a time loss. And we've noticed that Takaze a couple times opening his map, and what I think he's trying to do is he's trying to basically mash through these text boxes, and he's mashing just a little too much.
Well, anytime there's dialogue where you have to select something, there's a frame where the game actually will accept an input. So if you happen to hit X on that frame, then the map will open too. So whenever there's like a text selection box, most runners will opt to only mash the A button because they don't want to end up slashing their sword or using an item or mapping there.
There's certain parts of the game where you can mash the map button instead, like especially like in caves and the like, but that's a little bit more risky to do in areas like that. Meanwhile, Muttski is starting his Helmasaur fight. He's using sword buffering to stay faced forward here. Causes a little bit of lag, but it also allows you to just stay forward the whole time. He's got the mask off. He tried hammer hits, couldn't get him, so he's just going to go with Master Sword slashes.
Yeah, the hammer hits are very, very hard to pull off, but they do the most amount of damage that an item could do, but it wasn't really going well for him. And he just switches over slashes and cleans up the fight there. Rezi is cleanly past the bomb jump as well. Picks up those 3 extra hearts, but still not at full health, so I'm going to lose a little bit of time. Takaze looks like is going to go downstairs to get the key and some extra rupees for later on.
Yeah, if you're not comfortable with the bomb jump, this is the route you would take. You basically come down here, grab a key, and then take the northern door and go to the maze. A significant time addition, but if you're not comfortable with the bomb jump, this is a good way to get through it. So Muttski is going to be heading over to the Village of Outcasts via the flutes. He's going to pick up the flute on his way over there.
Eriphram having a bunch of extra pause buffers here on his bomb jump, but looks like he's found the right pixel, and now he's just going to line himself up, which is pretty tight sometimes. Using those pauses, looks like he's in place now, and nice, he gets over.
Yeah, this jump is a Y coordinate specific jump, but the X coordinate doesn't really matter. Rezi is on his Helmasaur fight, using the same sword buffering strat.
Unfortunately getting fireballed there, which is pretty bad RNG. Have to be mindful of the fireballs, and if you break the mask when a fireball is on screen, it'll actually despawn any and all of the fireballs that are on the screen. So unfortunate that Rezi wasn't able to break the mask during that attack.
Well, he's got to be careful. He's down to a heart of health.
Shout out to Sanctuary Heart for saving Rezi's life there. Muttski, meanwhile, has picked up the flute. One try dig to find it in the grass there, and he's making his way over to Thieves Town now.
Let's use some spin speed here to get through these guards. They are a little brutal to get through.
Yeah, the movement is fairly precise, especially if you're doing spin speed. But even if you're not doing spin speed, it's pretty precise because that red guard is very, very fast, and you have to move in a specific pattern to make sure that he does not hit you.
Takaze having a little trouble with these turtles.
Yeah, cleans up the room, but not after having to turn them all over once more.
Yeah, the hammer hitbox can be a little tough in that room, because you'll hit them to try to turn some over, and you'll turn others over as areas showing right now.
Yeah, when that room goes quick, it's very fast, but when it doesn't go quick, it can go horribly wrong. So Yeah, you want to try to get through that room as quickly as possible, but it's pretty precise execution. Muttski has called the bird out of the statue, and now he's making his way over to Thieves Town.
Yeah, Muttski is opening a bit of a lead over Takaze. Still plenty of time, though.
Well, I know Muttski will be going for much riskier strats later. I'm assuming we'll see the backups that Takaze decides to take, but I'm pretty sure the only backup or safety that Muttski takes is the Sanctuary Heart, so any death later on can be a bit more costly.
Eriphram is now also through Palace Darkness, a little bit behind Rezi, but still plenty of time to catch up. Rezi is going to be the second to grab his flute. There's a little bit of a sequence there.
Oh boy, sorry, I have to cut you off there because Muttski just got the Hellway God Pixel Dash all the way through to the top, which is very unlikely. You have to land on a specific pixel when you dash, and then you have to get the optimal RNG to allow that to actually happen. So that's not something you see all the time. So really good time save there for him.
I actually think in a race recently I saw both runners pull that off perfectly. But it is a very tough maneuver to pull off just because it's RNG dependent and it's pixel perfect. Looks like Takaze's having a little bit of trouble going through the overworld here. I know he got hit by one of those murder dactyls, as I think that they affectionately get called by a lot of people. They do 3 hearts of damage in green mail.
Man, Muttski's flying through Thieves Town right now. He's already picked up the maiden. He's going to go over and do a little bit RNG right there, but reacts accordingly. And he's going to go pick up the Titan Smiths and then carry on over to the blind boss fight.
Well, Rezi picked up his powder. That's one of the areas you can pick up the powder is right after you pick up the flute and activate it. Because it's a quick flute to get over to 2, turn in the powder, and you can flute right back to Kakariko.
Yeah, not too much time lost there, picking it up that way.
Meanwhile, Muttski's going to be the first into the blind fight. Now, this is a scripted fight if you know what you're doing. It takes 9 hits to get him down. Regardless of weapon, it takes 9 hits.
Sword beams only, will actually do half the damage of sword slash though, so sword beams can kind of make this fight go a little wonky, but although having sword beams, Muttski cleans up the fight pretty quickly, doesn't really go off script at all.
And Takaze is going to elect to also pick up the bug catching net. This will allow him to catch some fairies and bottle them up. I'm assuming he's going to pick up a bottle too. And that'll allow him to have fairies so he can take deaths and revive. Eriphram is also picking up the bug net.
Alright, rezephos is about to get the big key here now in Thieves Town and makes his way over to the main part of the dungeon.
Yeah, Muttski is opening a pretty wide lead here. He's going to be about a dungeon ahead shortly.
Yeah, Muttski is a very good runner. He's the top runner in this group by a decent margin. I believe he's the only one under 130, and some of these runners are closer to the 140s. So even on top of that, his execution so far has been pretty stellar outside of that fall at Moldorm, so he's having a pretty solid run.
So what we're seeing on Muttski's side now is he's going to go pick up the Tempered Sword. In the game, you usually wouldn't pick it up till after the 4th dungeon, which we're technically doing, but we're going to get it about 2 dungeons ahead of when we normally would have it. The advantage it gives you is that it does extra damage, helps get through some of these fights a little faster. So it's nice to pick up at this point. It's also not out of the way at all. Ooh, over on Rezi's side, though, he takes a death in Thieves Town. So the other thing we're going to watch Muttski do is he already picked up one of them, but he's also going to pick up 2 sets of 300 rupees. He'll need these rupees a little later to pay off Zora for flippers.
He's going to go for Fence Dash here. Let's see if he gets it. He does get it first try. The Fence Dash coming out from Muttski. That is a pretty precise trick. You have to only move 1 pixel after that screen transition before dashing, which will allow you to just nudge around that fence properly. Otherwise, he will bonk, and he gets it on his first try. So nice job there.
And Muttski will be the first of our runners to hit in the Skullwoods. So for our runners here, they'll always start in the middle Skullwoods and go straight for the big key.
Yeah, Skullwoods is pretty straightforward. More so than the other dungeons, you just go grab the big key. He makes it very cleanly through that room with the mummies there. That can be a very annoying room because the mummies' movement can be pretty unpredictable, but he gets through it nicely. But yeah, anyway, he just goes to get the big key, goes back to use the big key to get the fire rod, and then goes back out to get to the last section of the dungeon. So it's pretty quick, but pretty tough segment at times depending on how much damage you end up taking. And ooh, I thought he was going to get hit by a Moldorm there, but doesn't after that bomb jump. Another bomb jump coming out there, which is very similar to the one we saw in Hera, so nothing out of the ordinary or extra to explain there.
Yeah, once he does fire out, he's going to head back to take on Mothula. Meanwhile, Rezi is heading over to his blind fights. Eriphram and Takaze also still working through Thieves Town. So Muttski's grabbed a key on his way back. He needs 2 keys back. He'll grab the other one a little later. Gets through this room quick. He's got to light 4 torches in here. Use an extra shot to get rid of one of the mummies.
Yeah, this mummy hallway is pretty tough room, depending on the strat you go for. There are a bunch of different variations of it, but all of them get you through pretty quickly, and he gets through that room cleanly. Decides to fire on this mummy since he missed the spike damage glitch. And he doesn't feel like chasing the mummy around. When you hit an enemy into spikes, it'll actually do spike damage, which is level 4 damage to that enemy. So we like to hit that mummy into the spike, so it only takes 2 slashes into the spike to kill him and get the key. But this little damage glitch against spikes works against you in the moth fight. Muttski just had a pretty solid moth fight there. A few extra slashes, but yeah, it works against you in the moth fight because level 4 damage does 0 damage, so if you knock moth into a spike, it actually negates all the damage you did with your sword.
Yeah, a little rough because you got stuck in the spikes, but I gets through it.
Takaze going a little off script here with this blind fight, so he's gonna have to bob and weave while he's trying to get the last hit off. Doesn't take any extra damage. Great job by Takaze there. Rezephos already through the blind fight, and Eriphram is going to be cleaning it up now on the last phase, barring any catastrophes. always taking extra damage, but cleans it up. Good stuff there by Eri. And we have Takaze, Eri, and Rezi all finishing up the Thieves Town segment at roughly the same time. Muttski has just finished up Mothula and Scope Woods. He's out of the dungeon now. He's going to mirror out, he's going to flute to 4, and he's going to go collecting a couple items that he needs before the last few segments of the game. So he'll be collecting a medallion and also getting the flippers before going over to the Ice Palace. Now the reason we do this now is because in roughly the same area as the medallion and the flippers, there's a warp that puts you right in front of Ice Palace. So this is the most convenient time to do it, where you'll lose the least amount of time.
Yeah, the order here doesn't matter too much. There's 4 items you basically have to get in the overworld: the Quake Medallion, the the Ether Medallion, the Flippers, and the Ice Rod. You can basically pick them up at any point before you go into those dungeons with the flutes. There's optimal ways to do it. As long as you have it before the dungeon you need it, you're in good shape. And we're going to see them pick up the first of those 2 here, as Dude mentioned. They'll pick up the Quake Medallion and the Flippers. And then, depending on how they feel about going into Mire, they'll pick up the Ether and Ice Rod at a certain point in their run.
So we see Muttski get the medallion from the catfish. He actually bonked against that on purpose to set up for a quick warp, like I explained before. So this transition into the light world is going to be cut in half. It's pretty noticeable how it kind of just like abruptly ends. So yeah, any setups that we have for those people go for it, because like I said, it adds up over the run if you can get a bunch of them.
There is a small risk to that one though. If you go a little too high and the catfish starts his dialogue as you're about to hit the corner, you could end up in the water and essentially soft lock. It's a pretty tough one to pull off, but it can happen if you dash a little too high.
Yeah, pretty uncommon, but I actually have had it happen to me before, and just unfortunate when it does happen. But yeah, let's just check in on our other runners now. We got Rezi is going to be entering the Skullwood segment now. It looks like Takaze is going to be just behind Rezi and Eriphram, going for Fence Dash now. Gets the Fence Dash. Nice job there, Ari. I didn't see if Takaze or Rezi did. But glad to see that at least 2 of our runners have gotten it. Muttski, meanwhile, has full hearts. He takes the warp that I was talking about before, and he's right in front of the Ice Palace. So switching over to the Fire Rod, taking this warp here. Another quick warp here as he enters it from the left side. And now we have Ice Palace. It's pretty straightforward, but can also be pretty risky dungeon. The boss fight is very, very nerve-wracking. So we'll see how he gets through the dungeon. Which is having a little bit of problems with the mummies here.
And shortly on Muttski's side, we're going to see the absolute must-know bomb jump for NMG runs. It'll be coming up in just a minute here. Takaze and Eriphram are both working through getting their big keys. Rezi's about to pick up his Fire Rod.
Looks like Rezi's going for a hover instead of a bomb jump, which can be pretty risky if the Moldorm... Yeah, the Moldorm was probably making him a little nervous there. Decides in the end to go for the bomb jump instead.
Ari's catching up to Rezi a little bit here.
Yeah, all these racers are right with each other, so none of them down and out just yet. And we are going to see Muttski coming up on the bomb jump now.
Looks like he's got it.
Yeah, very, very quick there. He uses the dash to turn himself around on the right pixel, plants the bomb, switches over to the hammer so he can hammer dash afterwards, and makes his way cleanly through.
So by doing that bomb jump, Muttski basically skips this entire dungeon. By the way the game's logic wants you to do it basically wants you to make 3 full loops through the dungeon to complete it. By doing that bomb jump, we don't even have to make 1 full loop.
Yeah, because of that bomb jump, we're now in a section of the dungeon where the crystal is in a state that it shouldn't be at this point. And all Muttski is going to have to do is push this block down, and then he'll be able to push it onto the switch once he falls and make his way over to gold.
Well, our other 3 runners are working through Skull Woods. They're coming up on their Mothula fights. Ooh, Resi gets a nice full magic drop. That'll allow him to use some more fire rod shots in this battle.
Alright, Muttski's going for the 6-slash strat. Gets away from him a little bit, but takes 2 hits from the falling ice, but still has enough damage to tank it and finishes the last hit. So he's safely through ice. That can be pretty nerve-wracking because a death at ice is several minutes of time lost. And then you have to make a rounding decision if you want to go straight back into ice or if you want to go to swamp first to get a free magic refill. So it's always nice to get through that segment cleanly. Rezephos just finishing up Mothra.
Yeah. Resi and Takaze both had really nice Mothula fights. Eriphram's struggling a little bit more, and he takes a death. Ouch.
He does have a fairy, though, so he's not going to lose too much time.
That's good. That's the advantage of picking up the bug net right there, is that you can pick up fairies so that when you do die, you only lose a few seconds.
And Takaze and Rezi are both on the very similar text right now, both in the same group of text after Moth, and Muttski has actually finished Ice Palace now. He's going to be fluting back over to 4 to make his way to Swamp Palace.
Actually, Muttski is going to elect to go grab his Ether Medallion here. He may also elect to grab his Ice Rod at the same time.
Oh, right. This is actually one of the ways that Muttski differs from most of the sub-130 runners, where they usually get these items after the Swamp Palace. He grabs them before the Swamp Palace segment, and it's a little bit faster if you get them after Swamp because you have the hook shot, which makes the overworld movement slightly faster. But he gets it here because it guarantees that he'll have, or as close to guarantees as you can get, that he'll have full hearts going into the Mire segment, which is important for a couple, or at least one of the rooms in the Mire segment, and also because you do a damage-heavy strat against Vitreous, so you want to have as many hearts as possible.
Yeah, we'll show a little bit more about that once I get into Mire. Muttski is going to head over and grab his Ice Rod next. While other 3 runners are working their way up to Catfish to grab their Quake Medallion. Looks like Rizzy was just a little off on the Quick Warp.
We see all of our runners have taken a little bit of damage outside of Muttski during this Ice Palace run. And you want to have as much health as possible going into Ice Palace for a couple of rooms where you take damage on purpose, and the Coldstare fight can be pretty scary, and also sword beams help you out in a couple of rooms. So we'll see if they use any backup strats to try and collect their hearts.
Yeah, Muttski is about to go into Swamp Palace. Swamp Palace is a bit more straightforward compared to some of these other dungeons we've seen recently.
Yeah, you go into the dungeon with a lot more hearts than the game expects you to have at this point, so nothing really does that much damage to you. And the only problem with that is there's a lot of enemies, so although they won't do much damage, there's a lot of RNG to deal with and a lot of points where you can lose time just due to having to deal with not properly reacting to RNG.
But we're gonna see Eri, Rezi, and Takaze all in Ice Palace at about the same time here. Yeah, we're about an hour in at this point. All four runners are making good time. I'm actually wondering if Takaze is on a PB pace. I'll check on that a little later.
Yep, we have Takaze only a few rooms behind Rezephos, and Eriphram is entering Ice Palace now, so still anybody's game here. They're all pretty close to each other. Muttski, you know, depending on Muttski's late game, they could all still catch up, but he has a pretty solid lead right now and executing pretty well, so I hope he's able to keep up this pace.
Yeah, we'll be watching all three of these runners making bomb jumps coming up here. Rezi's got to be a little careful. He's only going to have one bomb for this bomb jump. The others will have a few more.
Alright, Rezi's got the key. Hits the switch to make sure it's in the right position. And now he's entering the bomb jump. We'll see how this goes for him. He's gonna slash right, which helps himself align a little bit easier. Lines properly down there. Boost through the fire stick. And as the... Ooh, that's risky there because you'll have to redo the bomb jump if you end up falling down one of those holes after getting hit by the fire bar. But
it was probably a safer area to do it there, just because it was probably the area who's least likely to get pushed down into the hole.
Right. Takaze also cleanly passed the bomb jump. Sorry.
And he's just being very careful with that fire bar. He's down to 3 hearts already. Most likely he'll powder an anti-fairy. And Aries the last one to make his bomb jump.
Again, using the sword out to help more easily get into position. Gets across. And is going to wait for that fire bar before bonking over the hole, so he decides to go pick up the heart beforehand. And we see Rezi is just about to enter the Cold Stare fight, and Takaze has just dropped down, so he'll be there in just a few seconds as well. Looks like he's going to grab the fairy actually in the room above, so he'll take a little bit of a detour just to make this a little bit of a safer fight. And rezephos using all of those fire rod shots to open up, and he's going to go for 6 slash as well. Gotta watch out for the ice. Ooh, take some hits. Oh, he's in a corner. He's gotta watch out.
Yeah.
Alright, gets one of the puffs down. Oh no, he takes some more damage. He's only got 2 left, and if he takes damage from anything, he will die. 2 of the puffs are down, and that last hit there will secure the kill.
Ooh, that
stuff there from Rezi. Very heads up play.
Yeah.
Now we got Takaze in here. He's most likely doing a similar strat. Yeah, going for the 6 slash strat. He's got to watch out. The actually doesn't get hit by the ice. Takes a hit from one of the puffs, but still has plenty of damage, and he finishes off this fight cleanly as well.
Yeah. Aries going to be the last one down into this fight.
Making his way now.
A quick over on Muttski said he's about to hit the Argus fight. We'll see if he's going to go for the 0 cycle kill.
Looks like Eriphram also going for 6 slash strat as the other runners have done, and he's able to keep them in the corner a little bit longer than the other ones. They still get away from him a little bit, but doesn't take any extra damage and kills them off quickly. Good job there by Eriphram. Nice fight. Looks like Muttski having a little bit of trouble because he got quick dashed by Argus. So he should still be able to finish this up in 1 cycle, which is not going to lose him any time in the 0 cycle. And he's just going to go for the 2-spin strat here.
Still a very impressive fight by Muttski. Didn't quite get the 0 cycle, but still got through that pretty fast. I think Rezi got a little off script there and got a little confused. Yeah, here's where we're starting to see a little bit of divergence as Rezi's going to grab his items before going into Swamp.
Oops, no.
Took an extra step. Unfortunately, since he was in dash speed, or his spin speed, because he because he hit that edge, it automatically causes you to jump. If he hadn't been in the spin speed, he would have had to hold for a couple seconds before he would have jumped. That's one of the disadvantages of using the spin speed strat there.
So, yeah, like you said, a little difference in routing here from Takaze and Rezi. Takaze is probably going to collect the medallion and the ice rod after Swamp Palace, which he's going through now. Rezi is doing it now, so he doesn't have to worry about it later, like Muttski did. Eriphram has picked up the ice rod, but he still has to get the medallion up on Death Mountain. So we'll see if he decides to do that now or later. We'll see where he flukes to.
Oh, and just a quick point out on Rezi's stream. He didn't really get mixed up. He just really did 8. He was going to head for bomb, or he's going to head to the Ice Rod Cave, but he doesn't have bombs, so he can't get into Ice Rod Cave yet.
Yeah, he's going up to get the medallion now, and yeah, he actually had to skip. That's a good point there. He had to skip that part, so he'll have to go back to that later. He's going to make sure he has 2 bombs exiting Swamp Palace now to make sure he gets through there, but Muttski does have full hearts as he's going into Mire 2. If you have full hearts here, it makes this room a little bit easier to one cycle, and one cycle we are referring to the Wizrobes appearing and disappearing, and gets trolled a little bit by Popo, but does have sword beams, cleans it up very quickly. Good job, good execution there by Muttski. Getting really bad Fire Snake RNG.
Yeah, those Fire Snakes can spawn in different configurations. So, Misery Mire is another dungeon that's pretty straightforward. There's a set route you have to take. Not a lot in terms of RNG beyond where a couple enemies will spawn. You have to damage boost a couple times, but if you've got powder, there's plenty of anti-fairies in here to recover your health.
So it does look like Eriphram is much further behind rezephos than he actually is, but Eriphram has picked up the medallion and the ice rod, whereas rezephos still has to pick up the ice rod after Swamp Palace. So we'll have a better sense of how close they are once they enter the Mire dungeon. Oh no, Takaze didn't hit the switch after filling up the water. This is unfortunate. He's most likely going to get to the big key. And no,
he realized.
Just recognized it. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, that would have been a couple minutes time loss there. So I'm glad that he saw those blue pegs and said, "Wait, something's not right here," and decides to go up and hit that switch.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that a lot of runners have done when learning this route is leave those pegs up accidentally.
And if you're not thinking about it, you won't actually notice until just before getting the big key, which is about a minute or so later, so it does lose a significant amount of time. Meanwhile, Muttski is doing his best to dodge all of the sparks and fire snakes here. Don't want to take too much damage going into the later part of this dungeon. You do need at least 4 hearts, depending on the strat you're doing when you fight Vitreous.
And more hearts are definitely safer for this Vitreous fight because
Absolutely.
RNG can get you quite a bit in that one too.
And I misspoke. You actually need to have 5 hearts because you take 4 hearts of damage in the most optimal strat.
Yeah. Takaze's picked up his big key. He's going to pick up his hook shot. Rezi's on his way to get his hook shot. Or he's not far behind.
Alright, so Rezi's got the 2 bombs he needs. Because he'll need 1 in Mire and he'll need 1 for the ice rod cave. And we see Takaze. It looks like Takaze is in the lead when compared to Ari and Rezi now. These 3 have been really tight the whole way, so it's really going to come down to the wire, I'm assuming, depending on if any deaths are taken in the later segments of the game.
Man, that's definitely not a given to get through these next dungeons with unscathed. And Turtle Rock by itself, enemies do about most enemies do about 4 hearts damage.
So Muttski's going to make his way into Vitreous right now. Like I said, damage boost, heavy strat. We use the goo, which only does 1 heart of damage, to allow us to sword spin as many of these eyeballs as possible. But if the eyeballs decide to charge you, they do, I think, 3 or 4 hearts of damage each with when you have the green tunic. But he has a pretty solid fight there. It looks like he did have to sit through one of the lightning cycles, which can be avoided, but still pretty quick execution there. Nice job, Muttski.
And next up, Takaze is going to go into his Argus fight. With Tempered Sword, each of these puffs goes down in 1 hit. Has a good chance at a 1 cycle here. Oh, that last puff just dodged out of the way. He's going to get a 2 cycle.
Alright, looks like he's also going for the 2 spin on the second phase of the fight. Muttski is out of mire, making his way to Turtle Rock now. Still on a pretty solid pace. I didn't make note of his torches time, unfortunately, but it looks like he's still doing pretty well.
It looks like he's about 46 seconds over his PB pace right now.
Very, very solid overworld screen there by Muttski. Doesn't get too horrible of RNG and executes really well to get through that screen pretty quickly. rezephos also finishing up his Argus fight. Good stuff there, just behind Takaze, but again, he has to go pick up the ice rod now. Hopefully he won't forget to do that, now that he has enough bombs. Thank you, Dark Magician. Yeah, that's a 107 torches for Muttski, so, oh no, but Muttski gets Dead Rock block. He's gonna go all the way to the left here to despawn the Dead Rock block, and yeah, there we go. So it doesn't lose him a terrible amount of time. Could have been worse, but it is unfortunate they got blocked there.
Yeah, it's another RNG element of the game. Those Dead Rocks can get in your way easily, and then if you hit them with your sword, and they're in your path, then that's several seconds to wait for them to come back out, or you have to run off screen to get them to despawn.
Oh right, I forgot Takaze also had to get the ice rod. But Eriphram doesn't, so he's going to finish this up quickly, and he'll have to sit through some text, so I'm assuming he's going to still be slightly behind before heading over to Mire.
But Muttski is in Turtle Rock now. So in this first room of Turtle Rock, we're going to watch Muttski's going to light the torches and then hookshot himself in the pits, which is the optimal strat to get back to the other side quickly.
Alright, Rezi has gotten the ice rod now. Going to take a damage boost. Muttski is going to be taking a damage boost here to get out of this area. That's the fastest known way to do that room, but you do have to tank 3 hearts after taking a heart from the fall in the room before. So you're down 4 hearts here. This is why we like to manipulate the prize packs and get a fairy from a Pokey at some point in this dungeon. Possibility of getting it here, but also a possibility of getting it later if it's not gotten here. Yeah, no drop there for Muttski, so he's going to have a couple more Popos that he's going to have to kill. Getting really bad RNG from the Chomps here. Very unfortunate. But good reaction, and he's just going to bait them to charge him one more time before he goes over and gets the chest. So.
Well, yeah, Eri and Rizzy are both going into Mire. Have to see how far behind they are. This is a very close race right now.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid race, and Eri and Takaze are pretty much movement for movement right now, as they're both about to open the Mire dungeon.
Rezi not quite getting the one cycle on these teleports.
Yeah, very, very tough room, even with the sword beams, as I was talking about before, to do quickly. Here's another spot for Muttski to possibly get that fairy, and he gets it there, dodges the laser coming out from that eye in the wall.
So it looks like Rezi entered Mire at about 1:14:30 or 1:14:25. Ari entered at about 1:15 even.
All right, so 30 to 40 seconds separating these runners right now. I'll make note, or hopefully I'll remember to make note of their times at Mire torches. We also have Takaze in a very similar spot too. It looks like Eriphram has taken over Takaze due to the execution in the Mire 2 room.
And might have even gained a little time on Rezi as well.
Yeah, it looks like they're a little bit closer. Rezi's about to come up to the Mire torches room now. Muttski's just making his way through Turtle Rock. Doesn't look like he's having too much trouble just yet.
Nice little invulnerability frame from Muttski there to avoid the roller.
Yep. And a 1:16:03 from Rezi as he lights those torches. And Eriphram is entering that room right now, so he's really not too far behind.
And Muttski is hovering.
Oh my goodness, I have never seen this before in this room. This is an insane amount of space to hover. I don't know if I've ever even heard of anyone attempting. And it looks like 1:16:30-ish. Sorry, I was watching Muttski for Eriphram, so roughly 20-25 seconds behind still. But Muttski takes a fall, and he does end up using the platform for the second part of the room.
That was very impressive by Muttski, though.
Yeah, that was really, really nuts. He's going for laser skip right now. Rezephos actually decides to go for a different key other than the spike key that we'll see later on. He'll probably end up skipping that. Muttski has a clean laser skip there. And it looks like Ari has gained a little bit of time on Rezi for this key choice.
Oh, yeah. Well, Ari's going to pick up a fairy here. That'll put him a few more seconds behind. And Rezi, yeah, grabbed an extra key.
An extra key. Not sure if he's going to try to enter an extra room or something. But Ari has just picked up that key, so he's definitely not as far behind as he was at torches. Muttski having a very clean Shine X fight so far. No extra ice or anything like that, and pauses to get over to the hook shot before hitting him with that last slash. So good execution there. Still on pretty solid pace.
A little pixel off from being right where that heart spawns. So Muttski is going to be into Ganon's Tower probably a little over a minute 20. And this
will be right around yeah, an hour 20.
And this Rezi race is going to be so fun to watch the end of. They are so close to each other. I mean, literally what a couple seconds are separating these two right now.
Yeah, it could be very, very close. We'll see how they end up executing at the end. But yeah, Rezephos actually missed his first arrow on that crystal, so he had to go back into the room at about the same time that Ari entered it for the first time. So Ari is now right behind Rezephos. And Takaze is just a room or so behind them. They're Rezephos having a little trouble with that anti-fairy. It looks like Ari's going to powder that anti-fairy to go in with a lot of hearts here. So we'll see how their fights go against Vitreous. They can be pretty nerve-wracking, but they both have a good amount of health, so we'll see if they get trolled by any of these. Yeah, Eriphram is ending up poking some of these, so he's getting a little nervous, but There's a lightning cycle there. Rezephos has a very, very quick fight, so he's going to make up some time there. Eriphram is getting a little nervous now. His heart count's getting a little low, but he's getting hit by the lightning. He's just, yeah, used that right side, that safe right side, and now he just has to put 8 arrows in, so loses a little bit of time on the Vitreous fight, and it looks like Takaze is right there behind him now, so all 3 of these runners are very close. Muttski now in Ganon's tower. Looks like he's got 2 keys already.
Yeah, key selection in Ganon's tower can vary from runner to runner. There's advantages and disadvantages to picking up each key. But as long as, I mean, the time difference isn't too big, probably just a couple seconds based on which keys you pick up.
Yeah, it's not too variable. I think it's only like a second or 2 at most.
So this really just comes down to runner preference on which keys they prefer to pick up.
Alright, so Rezi, Eri, and Takaze are all going to be making their way over to Turtle Rock via Death Mountain. I'm probably going to focus a little bit more on Muttski because Ganon's tower is pretty execution heavy, especially once you get past Armos. There's, you know, a lot to do. It's a very fun dungeon. Once you've had time to practice it, it's very execution heavy, like I said. So he'll be entering the Ice Armos fight now, the Armos refight.
Yeah. Well, Rezi's having a little trouble with the overworld here. Took an accidental jump. It's going to cost him a few seconds. Allow Eri to catch up a little bit more. Takaze's right behind them both as well.
Muttski cleanly through Ice Armor's fight positions himself at the top of the room, so he's right where that door opens up so he can dash out. And he does opt to go for the extra 10 arrows in that chest before mirroring out. He had 10, he had enough to get through the Mimic's room, but it is nice to have some extra arrows going through Gauntlet.
Exactly.
He's going to be coming up to the Mimic's rooms now. Pretty fun rooms. You have to manipulate the Mimics, which move opposite of you, and then sink 2 arrows into both of them, so they can be pretty tough to optimize.
Having those extra arrows will be very helpful in the Gauntlet, because especially with the Stalfos, which are very hard to hit sometimes.
Yeah, it is nice to be able to clean those up. He has a little bit of trouble in the Mimic's 1 room. Mimic's 2 room goes a lot more cleanly.
Oh my goodness, look at this sync between Eri and Rezi right now.
Wow. Both falling off the ledge within about a half a second of each other. They menu at different times, so still very close to each other. Wow, this is movement for movement still, these two. This is very exciting stuff.
And while Muttski is into the gauntlets, he's through the first room very cleanly.
Eri and Rezi are fire rotting at almost exactly the same time. Oh, Eri misses the first hook shot. Rezi waits for it, so it puts him ahead about a second or so.
Now, we believe, should mention, we do believe that Rezi's timer is a little off by a few seconds. So at the end of this, we're gonna just have to go by the Speed Racing TV time.
Yes,
that's gonna be the ultimate decider of who wins this.
That's a solid point. I do know that Rezi started his timer a little bit late, so he is probably a little bit behind.
Just for reference, the timers we see on screen are just the runner's personal timers. We use them just so you guys are aware of what the times are, but the official time comes from the Speed Racing TV site that we use.
Right, and Muttski showing off a 1-cycle land mode 2 fight there. Very solid execution, even though he got a little bit unfortunate RNG. rezephos getting trolled by Chomps. They're charging at him, but he gets through cleanly, doesn't take a death. Low on health, but he does have powder. Same as Eri.
This Turtle Rock is another dungeon that has a lot of anti-fairy, so a lot of opportunities to powder, which is especially good because a lot of these enemies do 4 hearts of health. Or 4 hearts of damage. Now we got the sync going between Takaze and Eri for a second there.
Right, Muttski is through this torches room. Can be a pretty nerve-wracking room, but he gets through pretty cleanly. He's going to pick up this magic refill, so he has enough magic to light these torches up here with the fire rod. But he is coming up on the end of the run here. In a couple rooms, he'll be fighting Moldorm 2, then Aghanim 2 a couple rooms later, and then on to Ganon. So,
my guess is Muttski's not going to fight Moldorm 2. He's going to try a hover again.
yeah, I would assume so, especially after that hover in Turtle Rock that we saw. Yeah, he dashes over to the right side because he sees Moldorm on the left side. Oh, and he takes a fall. Let's see how often or how many times he decides to try this before he reverts back to just killing Moldorm off. I assume he's going to keep going until he gets it. Takaze getting hit by that fireball in the Poke 2 room, but nice, he cleans up that pretty well. Oh, no.
Muttski's going to just go for the... He's just going for the regular kill now. Well, we still have some pretty close sync, or not sync, but very close in screens here between Takaze, Eri, and Rezi.
Yeah, all three of these guys are all, you know, pretty much in the same screen at any one time. So this is anybody's race going forward. Muttski heading into Aghanims too. So barring any sort of major catastrophe, it looks like Muttski is going to have this race. Decent RNG. Oh, but it looks like all three of those shots only counted as one. If they hit within a few frames of each other, then they only count as one shot. So I think he got really bad RNG there. So it looks like he still only has one shot on him.
He is not getting good RNG patterns in this fight.
Now 3. Yeah, it's really going poorly for him now.
Now, this is another RNG heavy fight. It's not as bad as the first Aga fight because you've got 3 sources to damage him. But yeah, there's still RNG. But he's got Aga down. So Eri's electing to use the safety door here. Rezi's just going to go for this laser skip. Takaze's already on his way to Trinex.
Eriphram falls at the laser skip. He opens up that door. It's a little bit of a backup so that if you die, you end up going, spawning back at that door instead of all the way back at the beginning of the dungeon. So could pay off because he is only down to 2 hearts right now.
We'll have an opportunity to powder an anti-fairy in this room.
I'm going to focus on Muttski though. He's in Ganon. He does get the Trident spin off. He only needs 5 more slashes to start the second phase of the fight. He gets it before the Trident starts spinning, and now he needs 12 more hits. Oh, he takes a hit from fire, which is 4 hearts damage. Now he's down to 3.5, so if he takes another hit from the fire from Ganon himself, he will die. He's got to be really careful. Using the iframes from the hook shot, really good work there from him. Now he's just got to get a slash off on Ganon 3 more times now, hoping he doesn't get too many warps out of him. Completely RNG the warps, and we'll lose about 1.5 seconds per warp. Meanwhile, Takaze has finished up Trinex, rezephos on the last phase of Trinex, and Eriphram trying to clean up the ice head. Alright, Muttski's at the end of the fight now. He's hit Ganon 4 times. Now he's going for the torch glitch. Should get it here. Ooh, didn't have his sword charged up enough. There you go, Eriphram finishing off. It's the last to finish off Trinex right now, but still very close between Takaze, rezephos, and Eriphram. While Muttski is hopefully getting about 3 hits on Ganon per cycle, which is the rhythm you want to get into here, per cycle of the torch glitch.
Yeah, Muttski's on a very good place. He has a really good shot at a sub 130 here.
Barring any falls or catastrophes here, like I said, if he gets hit by Ganon, he could take a tank it. Excuse me, he could tank a hit from the fire bat, but a hit from Ganon will cause him to die, and that's the last hit right there. So, barring a fall, he will have his sub 130. And GG to Muttski coming in a sub 130. Do you have the official speed racing time?
You have these official speed race, or Yeah, speed racing TV time of 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 25 seconds.
Very, very solid stuff there for Muttski.
We'll try to get Muttski in for an interview, but we might hold until after the finish of the other races because these are going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, we see Rezi and Eriphram on the same screen again. And like I said, Rezi, or like you pointed out before, Rezi's timer is a little bit off. He is a little bit further behind than we're seeing here. So just still anyone's game, screen for screen, movement for movement here. Takaze with a little bit of a lead on these two, so this is just adding to the drama as well.
Yeah, this is going to be an amazing finish coming up here.
Now remember, deaths in Ganon's Tower can be very costly, especially after the Ice Almost fight. Once you finish the Ice Almost fight, any death in Ganon's Tower will cause you to have to redo anything you've already done from that point. So these runners all do have backups, so they should be fairly safe, but it still is anybody's game.
Yeah.
Looks like we're joined by Muttski now. Muttski, if you have anything you want to mention, feel free. If you're watching these guys and you want to, throw in some words here and there about what they're doing, feel free as well. But overall, how do you feel about that run?
Oh, I mean, it was pretty good. There were things that were really good. Obviously, the middle hole at Moldorm kind of put a damper on the light world, which was, really sweet with the 2-cycle lamb. Gave me a pretty nice edge against my PB. Only had 2 blue balls, so not too bad. Then I actually had a really good start to the Dark World as well. I didn't take any unintentional damage until the Ice Palace split, which was pretty sweet. I don't think I've ever gone damageless that far into the Dark World before, so I was really happy with that as well.
Nice one, man. Yeah, that was a really, really well executed run. I saw you got the fence dash, so
I was gonna go back and do it again if I didn't, so don't worry.
Yeah, but first try, you can't beat that, yeah.
So, want to explain the Turtle Rock cover that you pulled off there?
I made a promise to someone that I would attempt it one time, and that I would, if whenever I fell was going to be when I would give it up. Did not actually expect to make it the whole way, just because, with the nerves of the race, my hands were kind of sweaty and shaking. So I was actually kind of surprised that I made it as far as I did. And then I fell because I grabbed the side, which is kind of a silly reason to lose that. But yeah, it was fun though.
Yeah, we saw you doing that, and I was just like, I have never seen anyone attempt this before. I've never watched anyone do it. I've never heard anyone talk about it. So that was actually pretty crazy that you got all the way to that middle platform.
But yeah, it was sweet though, and I was actually really happy about this race because I don't want to boast and take full credit, but Takaze was actually someone that I coerced into joining the tournament. So I was really glad to see that we got placed together because I bugged him about joining the tournament pretty hard. So I was glad that he got in and went back to practicing the game and has gotten a lot better in the last couple weeks. So I was really stoked for this race for ever since they announced the polls.
Yeah, he has been executing pretty well. So do you know how much experience he has with the run? Is he not really that comfortable with it as we did it?
He started learning. He knew NMG when I met him. I met him at RPG Limit Break last May, and he had dabbled with it a little bit, but not too seriously. And then obviously, so many other, fell victim to the randomizer flu bug, and was playing pretty frequently. Then he put Link to the Past aside almost entirely to run glitchless Final Fantasy VI, which anyone that knows me, I'm like a huge Final Fantasy speedrunner as well. So, yeah, and then after I saw they announced the tournament, I was like, hey, you should, you know, go back to the game and pick this up for a little while. So I was glad that he joined.
Meanwhile, sorry, quick. Eri took a death, but I think he's got fairy. Yep, he's got a fairy. Yeah, he came into the gauntlet with just 2 hearts, so that was a bit risky. Rezi elected to pick up the safety fairies there.
Yeah, he knows he has a fairy, and he's probably going to powder this guy right here, too. Yeah, he's going to powder this and put that in his bottle as well. And I think there's other backup hearts and anti-fairies before Moldorm, so he should be okay.
There's 2 anti-fairies you can powder in the room before Moldorm 2. But yeah, this race between Eri and Rezi is still really close. Takaze is actually taking a bit of a lead over both of them, though.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how Takaze's run's going, honestly. Like I said, I was glad that he got back into the game, and it's awesome to see him having a solid run in the tournament.
Yeah, for sure, man. He's doing really well.
So we noticed that, I think according to speedruns.com, that his PB was a little over 2 hours. I'm assuming that's come down quite a bit, though.
Yeah, I think he's got like a mid 140 something, like a 144, 145, I believe. Unless he PB'd again in the last couple of days. He'd been doing some runs. I don't know if he had submitted any of them to the leaderboard yet, though. But yeah, he's brought his PB down pretty significantly.
Yeah, well, given that, it looks like he's on pretty solid PB base here. He's at 136, and he's already in Moldorm 2, so he's only a few minutes away from the end of his run, depending on how his execution goes at Ganon and Aga 2, so he's on a very, very solid pace right now. Meanwhile, we still have Efri and Rezi just within 1 or 2 rooms of each other at all times, so this is definitely a race that could come down to Ganon warps or, you know, how well they execute the 4th phase Ganon. Alright, Takaze going into Act 2 now. We will see. You got some pretty bad patterns on Aga, dude. I was feeling for you.
I think it's like less of the patterns, and it's more of when the actual Aghanim shoots his like attack, like, you know, significantly sooner than the shadows. It just makes it so difficult. Like getting a blue ball from that is like getting a blue ball on Aghanim 1. You know.
Right. There was the first cycle where pretty much all 3 of them came at you at once, and they all hit him at the same time. So they only counted as 1 hit. Which
the old triple single, you know.
Yeah. The old 3 for 1. Oh no, Rezi takes a fall at Moldorm 2. It's gonna put him behind because Eri just finishes up the fight here, and we'll see Takaze going it again now.
So yeah, we're probably gonna focus on the runners here, but feel free to hang around as we finish this up.
Oh no, falling apart for Rezi, taking another fall at Moldorm 2.
As Takaze is starting his Ganon fight. Don't think he's gonna get the 1 cycle here.
Ooh,
but
he does get the 1.
He does. Oh.
I don't know if he knows how many hits he has in the second. Wow, that was very, very close hook shot. Takes some damage from the fire bats. 2 hits from the fire bats, doing 4 each. So now he's only down to 2.5 hearts. He's got to be careful. All right, we see Eriphram is in the Aga 2 fight now. Rezi just cleans up Moldorm 2. He's only a couple rooms away. Nice, Takaze getting a solid 1-1, I believe. So he's on the 3rd phase of Ganon now. Only needs 1 more hit. Nice, got some good Ganon warps too. Eriphram just finishes up Aghanim 2. He'll be heading over to the Ganon fight as Rezephos is about to face off against Aga 2.
So, yeah, Eriphram has a slight lead here, but 1 Ganon fall, and this is a very close race.
Yeah, this is still very close. I mean, just Ganon execution in general. If he has trouble with spins or if he gets a lot of warps, this is still anybody's game.
Well, Takaze's on his final phase of Ganon.
Alright, it looks like Eriphram is... Okay, he didn't get a 1-1. It looks like he'll have a 1-2. Takaze getting the last hit off on the top left there with 2.5 hearts to spare. And it looks like he should be coming in at a sub 140.
Get ready to go freaking nuts, chat.
We'll get it as soon as he crosses the bridge. And Takaze's finished this race with an official Speed Racing TV time of 140 even.
Wow, that's the Speed Racing time. I mean, his timer might have been a little bit more accurate, but that should still be a very big PB for him. So hopefully we'll be able to get him in here and talk about his run. Meanwhile, we got both Eri and rezephos on the Ganon fight. Eri is on phase 4, while Rezi is trying to clean up phase 2 still.
Eri is down to half a heart. He's got to be very careful on this phase.
I'm sure his heart is pounding. He did get the torch glitch, fortunately. He's got to be careful of that fire, though. It's making me nervous. Alright, looks like Rezi has gotten through the second phase of the fight. Oh, it takes a hit from a bat, and now he's only down to 2 hearts. Eriphram's just doing his best to stay calm and collected, and oh my god, almost gets grazed by a fire bat there. Oh my god, it's every single time he comes so close. I'm not sure how many hits he has left, but it can't be many now. He's gonna have to switch over to the lantern unless... Oh no, he takes a death there! I
think he has a fairy, though. He does have a fairy, but his magic is very low.
Yeah, he's gonna have to switch over to the lantern now, depending on Okay, he's only got to have like 1 or 2, or maybe 3 hits left. So there you go, last hit there. Whew, that fairy saving his life at the very end there. I'm sure he's very happy with himself for picking up that fairy just before the Land Mode 2 fight. We have rezephos with 2 hearts left. We'll see. I don't think he has a bottle with fairies in it, so he's going to have to finish this up without taking damage.
Yeah. Eri has officially finished in first place in his race, an official Speed Racing TV time of 1 hour, 41 minutes, and 53 seconds. We will get the rest of these racers in as soon as Rezi finishes up with his race.
Yeah, it looks like Rezi got the torch glitch, but he's sticking with lantern strats to make sure he doesn't run out of magic. He's only got 2 hearts, so you can see he's going well out of his way to make sure he doesn't get hit by any of these fire bats.
Yeah, he likely knows he's already lost. He's probably just taking it easy, trying to get through this fight now.
Alright, taking the fire rat out, saying, alright, I'm going to have to speed this up a little bit, hopefully trying to get 3, there you go, 3 spins per fire rat cycle. Ooh, mistimes that one a little bit, but let's see. He's going to have to switch back over to the lantern soon, or else he's going to be running out of magic. Not sure how many hits he needs left. Oh, he's out of magic, so he's gonna have to hit him or kill him within. Yeah, there we go. The very last attack, he's run out of magic. That was so clutch for him to finish up before having a refight.
We'll get his time here as soon as he crosses the bridge.
Remember, his timer was started a little late, so he's probably closer to 144.
Yep, he has finished in second place in his race with an official Speed Racing TV time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 1 second. And we will bring these racers in for interviews now.
Really solid stuff from all of these racers. Great job. Let's see if we can get them in here to talk about it.
And we are now joined by Eri and Takaze. GG, guys.
Thank you, thank you. GG, Matt.
Likewise, congrats on the 139, tough guy.
Oh, feels good.
Coming in hot, dude. That was like a really, really clutch Ganon fight the whole way through. When you switched to the fire rod for the last phase, man, that is what gave you that slight edge you needed to crack it. So nice job, man. That's awesome.
I haven't actually practiced a whole lot of pulling out the fire rod, but I know I was coming up really close to 140, and the goal I kind of set myself to get in this game was sub 140. So I'm glad I was able to pull that off.
We also have Rezi joining us here in chat now. GG as well to you, Rezi.
I'm sorry, Alpha Gamer. I couldn't do it. Nice race.
So, I mean, that was a really close race between Takaze, Eri, and Rezi. I mean, you guys were at times synced up. And that was just really exciting to watch as that came down to the line. Came down to the wire.
Yeah, it was really, really a fun race to watch. Eri and Rezi going back and forth pretty much the entire time, never straying too far from each other. So I am not sure. I know that the admins at speedrun.com have fallen behind on their verification. So is this a PB for anyone, or?
Definitely a PB for me. But
well, it's the end of the game. I thought used to be after you died at Cold Stare, so at least I beat the actual game this time.
Yeah, taking a death at Cold Stare is pretty tough. So getting past it is definitely a big point of relief in the run for most people. But yeah, so I thought it was pretty fun race. Is there anything any of you, Eriphram, rezephos, Takaze, that you want to point out about certain segments in your run that made you more nervous, or that you thought you did really well?
Fence dash.
Fence dash.
Nice job on the
Fence dash. We got the fence dash. Let's go.
I didn't know how you're even supposed to get it until you told me to on the restream, and then I did it. Thanks for the strats.
I don't feel bad about bullying you into doing the tournament anymore, Takaze. Since I was coercing you whenever they announced the tournament and kind of badgered you about joining. Now I feel like I did the right thing.
This is true.
All right. Well, congratulations to Muttski. I don't know the records or anything. JP, do you know any of that information about who's moving on or anything like that?
I think in Takaze and Muttski's group, there's still some races to play out. So we still don't know exactly where they're going to be. And same with Group E. I believe there's still some stuff to figure out. So we don't know exactly who's moving on and who's not just yet.
Okay, great. Well, congrats to Muttski again. And Eriphram, nice job. That was a nail-biter for both you and Rezi. So great races all around. Really good stuff. Thanks for the races. I just want to point out that coming up very shortly, we have another double race, another four-way going on. We have M-Chan, who's going to be and we have Jerby, who's going to be facing off against Kran soon, and we're going to have Uglib and Uday on the microphone talking about the game for you. And then right after that, we're also going to have Gerdo versus Magius, and that is going to be talked about by Bentizi and Kran soon, all on Speed Gaming 2 coming up, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Plenty of Link to the Past action, no major glitches going on at Speed Gaming 2 today, so please stick around and feel free to check out the other Speed Gaming channels as well. I know there's pretty much a full slate going on all at least 4 of the channels, between A Link to the Past, Dark Souls, Super Metroid, things like that. So yeah, feel free to tune into any of those, but please stick around for the races coming up momentarily.
Thanks for doing the audio analysis, Brewers and Deebs. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you all for runners for running for us today, giving us all a great show.
Yeah, nice run, everyone.
Yep, have a good one, guys. Take it easy.
Great job all around. Thanks, guys.
Yep, stay tuned for some more action, and yeah, we will see you all in our next race.
Bye.